The CEO of Lamborghini made a public statement that landed somewhere he never intended, and it reverberated through the automotive world harder than most corporate announcements from Sant'Agata ever do. Stefan Finkelman, standing on the back of the best financial year in Lamborghini's entire history, told the world that customers don't want electric vehicles. They want noise. They want heat. They want internal combustion engines producing the kind of feeling that no battery-powered supercar has come close to replicating. He wasn't referencing a self-taught mechanic from Leicester with 6.3 million YouTube subscribers. He had never heard of Mat Armstrong, but every word he delivered described exactly what Mat has been building in his workshop for years. And that collision between a CEO's press conference and a mechanic's garage is the entire story here. Mat Armstrong is 32 years old, self-taught, and runs a YouTube channel built entirely around one premise. If a supercar gets written off, blacklisted, or declared beyond repair, he buys it, rebuilds it, and drives it on public roads. Not as a display piece, not as a garage ornament, but under power on the same streets where insurance companies and manufacturers had already decided these automobiles had no business being. Every vehicle he has touched runs on petrol and exhaust noise, the same emotional connection Stefan Winkelmann stood up and defended publicly while canceling a program worth hundreds of millions and backed by years of development work. The Lançador was Lamborghini's answer to full electrification. Announced in 2023 with 1,341 horsepower and a planned 2029 release date, it carried a price tag of around $300,000 and was positioned as the brand's first step into fully electric production vehicles. Stefan canceled it in February 2026 after more than a year of internal discussion, customer feedback, dealer consultations, and global market analysis that all delivered the same result. Demand for a fully electric Lamborghini among the brand's actual buyers was, in his words, close to zero, and pushing ahead regardless would have been, he said, financially irresponsible toward shareholders, toward customers, and toward every employee at the factory. Ferrari was heading in the opposite direction entirely at the same moment, having confirmed its first fully electric production car with a reveal scheduled for May 2026, meaning two Italian supercar manufacturers were on completely diverging paths at precisely the same time. What gave that cancellation real weight was where Lamborghini stood financially when Stefan made it. 10,747 automobiles delivered in 2025 crossed the 10,000-unit threshold for the third consecutive year, and revenue reached €3.2 billion, the second year in a row above $3 billion. The Revuelto, the Urus SE, and the new Temerario, all hybrid vehicles built around combustion powertrains with electric assistance, were selling at levels the company had never recorded. Stefan was not retreating from a struggling position. Walking away from full electrification from the strongest financial ground Lamborghini had ever occupied, his explanation was direct. The buyers kept asking for internal combustion engines, not in theory, but in every market and across every consultation, consistently and without exception. That was the audience Stefan described without knowing it, and it was the same audience filling Mat Armstrong's comment sections for years. While Lamborghini was canceling electric programs, Bugatti had already moved against Mat through its own manufacturer system. In October 2025, Mat flew to Miami to assist content creator Alex Gonzalez, who had bought back his own Bugatti Chiron Sport from a Copart salvage auction after a serious crash. The front end was destroyed, the airbags had deployed, the gearbox housing had cracked, and the carbon fiber monocoque had taken direct impact damage. An insurance assessment quoted $1.7 million to repair it, and Alex had walked away from that offer, bought the wreck himself, and called Mat. Neither of them knew that Bugatti had already locked the car's VIN in its global dealer network, meaning no authorized dealership anywhere in the world would supply a single component for that chassis number, and the practical consequence was that they were attempting to rebuild a multi-million-dollar supercar with no factory parts, no dealer access, and no manufacturer cooperation at any level. Bugatti's position was that the engineering complexity and the safety risk of independent repair were both too high to allow work outside their factory in Molsheim, France. The Chiron Sport runs a quad-turbocharged 8-liter W16 engine producing 1,500 horsepower, And the carbon fiber monocoque is not a body panel sitting over a separate chassis frame. It is the chassis frame. Every system in the car, the cooling, the fuel delivery, the hydraulics, and the 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox, runs through or around it, and Bugatti employs specialist technicians in Molsheim who work exclusively on these vehicles. From the manufacturer's perspective, an independent team operating from a private workshop with no access to original build data, returning one of these cars to a roadworthy condition was not a question of whether they were willing to try. It was a question of whether it was mechanically possible to do correctly. Mat Armstrong, Bugatti's CEO, responded with an Instagram video that reached 6.8 million views in 4 days. He addressed claims that had surfaced during the rebuild, specifically that components could be sourced cheaply or replicated using a 3D printer, and described cold weather testing at -20 degrees Celsius where dashboard leather stiffened enough to block airbag deployment, a problem that required a complete manufacturing process change to resolve. He also confirmed sending Alex a direct message earlier to offer help finding a cost-effective repair path, noted the car had been temporarily unblacklisted during those discussions, and acknowledged that Alex had declined Bugatti's involvement, after which the project continued without any factory support. Mat's team found a workaround for every blocked part. The broken engine mount bracket was 3D scanned, converted to a CAD model, and had a replacement CNC machine from raw stock. A damaged coolant overflow pipe with no Bugatti replacement available got repaired using a section of rigid brake hose, and a fabrication company built an entirely bespoke exhaust system from scratch. By March 2026, the front and rear sections of the Chiron had been reunited using 14 titanium bolts, and when Mat reconnected the coolant lines, the fuel system, the intercooler, and the ECU, the engine fired for the first time since the crash. The exhaust note through the custom system came out deeper and louder than the factory specification, and Mat said it made every hour of the build worth the effort. Ferrari created a second obstacle at almost the same time. Mat had purchased a wrecked Ferrari 296 GTB for £100,000, and when he attempted to start it, the instrument cluster displayed a single message: hybrid system failure, go to the dealer. He replaced components, ran diagnostics, fitted airbags, and the fault remained. The problem sat inside the hybrid battery controller module, a unit that could not be reprogrammed or replaced without Ferrari's direct involvement, and the fault architecture built into the 296 GTB's hybrid system meant the car would not move under its own power regardless of what physical repairs had been completed. Ferrari told Mat the vehicle required a certified body shop inspection before the manufacturer would engage at all, and by that point, he had already fitted components from the track-only Ferrari 296 challenge to the road car, leaving him with almost no leverage. He sent Ferrari an email and waited. Running alongside both of those situations was a 10-day challenge from EA Sports and Need for Speed to build the fastest, most visually striking Lamborghini Gallardo possible. The car Mat started with already carried a twin-turbo conversion on the naturally aspirated V10, producing around 800 horsepower and converted to rear-wheel drive. The wrap, developed with the vehicle wrapping center, landed in white and purple across the full side of the car in one continuous printed piece, cut using knifeless tape along body lines without touching the paint underneath. 3 days and 2 full crews to apply it, and by day 5 it was complete, with what had initially given Mat doubts having become exactly what the brief called for: something that looked like it belonged in a video game rather than on a public road. The mechanical problem was fuel delivery. At 800 horsepower, the low-pressure pump feeding the high-pressure unit could not keep pace with the turbocharger demand, and tuner Ricky at RE Performance pulled the existing unit and installed an upgraded pump, running a small camera inside the fuel tank to confirm the seal seated correctly before closing everything up. Mat arrived on day 10 not knowing whether the car had even been started, and the Gallardo was already strapped to the dynamometer when he walked in, rear wheels on the rollers, Ricky at the controls. When the formal run finished and the screen settled, the number read 1001 horsepower. A car that had left the Lamborghini factory producing 522 horsepower was now making nearly double that from an engine not designed to handle it, sending every bit of it through 2 rear wheels fitted with Nankang AR1 road-legal racing slicks and no stability systems of any kind. Lamborghini said nothing throughout any of it. No blocked VINs, no response video, no legal contact, all while its CEO spent a year in front of cameras making the case that combustion engines still mattered, and the emotional connection between a driver and an internal combustion engine was real and irreplaceable. Ferrari and Bugatti both had legitimate engineering arguments behind their resistance, and those arguments held on their own terms. Lamborghini's silence operated differently. Stefan had described Mat's audience, Mat's cars, and the reason Mat existed on YouTube, all of it without knowing Mat existed, and had done it from a position of record revenues, 3 consecutive years of record deliveries, and a canceled electric program worth $300,000 a unit. None of that produced a phone call. None of it produced an offer of parts. The Bugatti rebuild remained unfinished. The Ferrari waited on a reply that had not come back, and the Gallardo sat at 1,001 horsepower with a rear bumper still off and a challenge from Ricky still open. Get into second gear at full throttle on a public road, hold it through to fourth, and prove the number means something outside a dynamometer room.